Hello, hello. My name is Leo, and today I'm doing a quick, breakdown. No, this is definitely not a breakdown. I'm doing a bit of a recording session in which I'm going to be compositing this Space Kitty image. I don't know, this is probably going to be a little bit of an awkward silence video, I guess. There's not too much to say. I'm just going to be figuring this out on the go. Yeah, let's go. Let's get into it. Me and Eric have been working on this Space Kitty render. Just a fun idea of having a cat with a space helmet that's situated like close to this asteroid field, like around the rings of Uranus. So I'm gonna be compositing this inside of After Effects. As you can see, it's pretty fun. It's a pretty fun render. I'm actually quite happy with it. I decided to have the cat looking a bit creepy over there, and then it's kind of wearing some kind of magical charm in here. That's just the kind of bullshit story I'm telling myself, which is the reason why it's surviving inside of space. And there's all this bluish crystal debris going around it that seems to be made of the same material as his Yu-Gi-Oh! Inspired chain. The Hello Kitty in the face was like kind of just a random idea just to add a little bit of a complementary contrast in there. Now, compositing this is... I'm not exactly sure what to do with compositing, so I guess I'm just gonna start. I added a black background just to be sure we have that, and I created a new solid with a gradient ramp that is set to add. I turned that opacity up. You'll see I'm basically reintroducing some of the same colors we have and bringing that down a touch, just so we get a little bit of a clearer definition right here at the edges. I also exported a depth pass, which is just a very handy thing to have. When compositing, you can use it to create selections, you can use it to do some fog, and basically I added a little bit of a dark cyan solid by bringing it down to about 5%. It's just giving it a little bit more of a volume throughout this shot. The next thing I'd like to do is probably give some streaks of lights coming here, as if everything is even a bit more foggy. So I'm duplicating the system, and let me see, how would we go about that? Let me drag this in. CC radial blur set to fading zoom is actually a very good effect to do this with. Like, if I increase the amount over here, and then if we move the anchor point somewhere there, it's a bit too low. Yeah, somewhere there. It's very cool. You can create these streaks. You can even make them go inwards, which is a bit strange, like, but you can do it. And yeah, here you go. I'm adding a channel invert effect so we can use this as a luma. I guess right now the question is, what else can we do with the depth map? Let's try to do what it's supposed to be used for. There we go. Definitely could have been worse. So the first thing I'm seeing just looking at this is that this is definitely the how do you call it, the most detailed section of the image. The amount of detail that's here, I'm not sure if it translates very well with the amount of detail that's on the other side. To be fair, it is okay because this is also the most detailed area on this end. Alright, let me do another check. I'm just not exactly sure what to do with this. I feel like we're missing a star over there. Uranus is like one of those planets that has a very subtle amount of detail. And I don't know if that's something that's bothering me. It's nice because it's just so simple. You know, you're just getting one very solid geometric shape that the other side then can like be the hero of the shot. That cat is so derpy. His fur is way too, it's way too long. It's a strange one because I actually made sure to keep the fur with like 0 gravity. Because, you know, I thought it's space. It just looks a little bit wonky, but, you know, this is straight up cinema 4D hair sim. Nothing too special going on there. These asteroids, by the way, I made by Nadir Perazzo, who is working on our upcoming sci-fi film, Syntactic Labyrinths. These asteroids are super, super epic. He made quite a few of them for me, and hopefully, Nadir, if you're listening, we gotta get you on a video, man. The asteroid field themselves look fine, I guess. Okay, let's add a star there. And I feel like I'm gonna just try to make this star straight inside of Cinema 4D. Gotta take off my glasses because they're actually flaring my screen. I can't actually see what I'm doing right now. It's getting somewhere. I feel like this thing's still a little bit big for it to be a star. I'm just looking for that kind of North Star kind of vibe where we have a 4-pointed streak that's super, super bright. So glare intensity, oh, I'm at the wrong one. Okay. There you go. Well, let's increase the glare to 2 and make this 0.1. So if streak count is set to 3, but I'm seeing 6 streaks. Does that mean it's double? So I should be setting this to 2? Oh, apparently, yes. Okay. If I set the rotation to 0. Ah, okay, there we go. Oh, this is cool. It's very cool. I set that to 10. Alright, I'm still gonna decrease the size of the platonic. I think that's like one of the main things I'm still a bit on the edge about. I think it's a bit too thick. Ah, okay, but then the size of the glare does kind of stay the same, even though the hotspot becomes smaller. That looks really weird. So the size, I gotta bring that down to about 5, I guess. Let's bump up the intensity because we have half the light. Or like, there's probably some logarithmic scale going on there. So don't take my word for it. Yeah, that's very cool. Perfect. One thing down in this compositing process. 2048, current frame. Let me see, let's give it an EXR. I do not need an alpha channel because I'm just gonna set it to add. So quick check to see if it's not doing something crazy. Yeah, it's looking fine. Sometimes it like, when it recalculates, it goes dimmer, but I'm sure we can fix anything in post. Now, the next thing I'd like to do is I'd like to add some star fields in the back. So this is from our own starfield pack. It's basically just a bunch of real NASA stars. You can get it on the ArtStation store. So just like go here, that's me. And then all the planets are available, by the way, except for Pluto, which, you know, I still consider it a planet. So I guess I'll make it. And then here it is, 100 organic star fields back. It's basically, I found this image by NASA that was like a photograph of a cluster of stars. And then I ran this algorithm that creates a mask around, or well, it creates a selection around each of these stars based on a light threshold and based on like the distance between between like 5 pixel radius or something like that. And then I ran this super crazy script that took like 2 days to calculate, and it basically separated 23,350 stars from that image and made them all into its own separate layer. And I feel like I deleted a lot of them, but here you go. So this, oh fuck, you cannot see that. But so these are like single pixel compositions of what these stars look like. And then I repopulated them with a randomizer into a scene, and then I just rendered 100 different EXR files. And, you know, that's what we will be using now. Yeah, so let's just go in here and grab a few. Let's say 20 to 29. I don't think we'll need that many. They're a little bit blurry because of the blur map. Very starry sky. Yeah, it's a bit too much. Now, the thing is, if we... Oh, this is done. Perfect. If we go to the camera settings from this Uranus cat, we have a shutter speed set to 1/500. And that means realistically, we'll probably not be able to see any stars. So what I will do is I'll put a adjustment layer right in between here. And the only thing we can like kind of fake is just saying that some of these stars are like super, super bright, which is why they show up, but most of them won't. Any of you in the comments ever have any experience with render boxes or like computers from the company Renderbox? I know a few people who've used them, and they say that they're pretty reliable and very good for the amount of money you pay for it. So yeah, I've been thinking of doing that. This is like a, what is this? It's a 2017 iMac, and it's really not doing what it should be doing anymore. That's the big bright star. Cool. Nice. Ooh, I like that. I think I'm gonna be rendering a Caustics Pass. Let me see if we can get that working. Let's go to the multipass. We don't need the Z depth anymore. Get rid of that. And light mix, shading, lumen glare, components, shadow, caustics. There you go. Then render only masks, disable shading. Check this, and you'll be able to only get whatever is that you set up in the multipass. We don't need any of this. And then what I'm thinking of doing is cutting out this Hello Kitty, pushing it a little bit back right behind this, and then blending it almost as if the glass is double layered. And screen matte. Yeah, that's not gonna work. What we can do though is not think of a universal solution and just rotoscope this. Or, you know what? We're not gonna do that. We're gonna do something else. We're gonna go right here into Photoshop, and we're gonna use this thing. There you go. Yes. That's more like it. Right. Just duplicate that. Does it look fine? Looks okay. And then if I set that to overlay, okay, it's not exactly it yet. Add does not provide the look we're going for. Overlay is getting pretty close, but I feel like it makes it a little bit too contrasty. And soft light. Soft light is fine, but it's not, it makes it a little bit milky. Gonna add a little bit of a pink glow. This might look like shite, but we never know. It works, but not really. Let's switch this to 32 bits. See what it changes. Oh, there you go. That's looking better. Yeah, now we can bump it up a bit. I'm also gonna take this main layer here, and I'm going to, I want to add a little bit of a blur that goes right at the edge of this planet. So I'm gonna duplicate it, go to generate, fill, make that black. It's pretty cool though. Make that black, duplicate that layer, make that white. I guess the order should be the other way around. Give it a Gaussian blur of about 60. Yeah, that's cool. That's too much. And I need a black solid. Now we're gonna pre-compose these three together. That's gonna be the blur map. And what I'd like to do now is just cut out everything that isn't the planet. And just a simple way to do that is just by creating a mask. And then by just adding a adjustment layer with a exposure, we can control how strong we want this luma to be. So somewhere around here would be fine. And then we can add an adjustment layer with a camera lens blur. Set this to, set the aspect ratio to 0.5 and select our blur map. And let's see if it worked. I don't really think it did anything. Or you know what? I'm just gonna do it slightly differently. I'm just gonna set that to Luma mask and then, yeah, that seems to work. That's a bit of a, not really the way to go about it. Usually it works the other way. If someone knows why it's not working this way, please let me know. Cool. We're back to finish off Space Kitty. So look at this, we finished the render. It's a little bit noisy, but we'll clean it up in a bit. And we did manage to get our bloom and glare pass working, and we have our caustics. So we can get this going. Nice. So what I would like to do first is I actually want to just color correct this bloom and glare pass a little bit. So it should be 32 bits, so we should be able to just crunch down the exposure straight here. Well, the one thing that I feel is like our bloom and glare will need to have a little bit of a different setting for the left and the right section. So let's cut this out and call that one of the sections. And I'm not even looking at the Hello Kitty there. I'm mainly looking at what I wanted to be doing to these asteroids here. I feel like something like this is fine. Yep. So let me just cut this out as well. Now I'm gonna import the caustics. I like it, but it needs a little bit of adjustment. So first of all, we're gonna be denoising this a bit. So let's just... how are we gonna go about it? Well, I think I'm gonna use a dust and scratches effect. Yeah, I'm getting quite happy with how this is turning out, actually. The caustics and the blooming glare actually do quite a bit. It's very subtle, but if you see, this is off, and then when we turn it on, this side of the composition just feels more alive. The overall visual interest gets bumped up a little bit. And also these crystals feel a little bit more magical, which I think is a nice thing. It's raining outside over here. Very peaceful. I'm enjoying this, doing this session. I'll probably be doing more of these because I'm always working on like personal stuff, and at some point I feel like just being able to communicate, or even if it's just talking to myself, it helps with figuring out what the next step would be. One of the things I'm considering right now, I'm not sure if it's gonna work, but is adding a bit more of an atmospheric glow over here. Because as we were discussing in the Photoshop file, this side of the image feels like it's missing something. Like Eric would say, it's missing a bit more cowbell. And I think that maybe a bit of an atmospheric glow would help us with that. So where do we have it? This is the planet. Yep. I'm just gonna add a new solid. Yeah, let's go for a solid. Okay. Now I'm gonna pre-compose these, squishing them together a little bit, and just gonna lower the intensity. This is probably already too much, so I'm gonna go somewhere here. Let's see. It looks okay, we're just making it a little bit milky at this point, which is a different kind of style than what I'm used to doing. I don't mind it too much at the moment, but let's see if maybe we can darken it down a little bit. Cool. We're getting very, very close. I'm starting to enjoy what we're getting here. So what I'm gonna do now is, I like to do compositing in After Effects. It's a still, but we could have been doing this in Photoshop, but just the ability to quickly use video assets is really what I love here. Here's some of the earlier versions, by the way. I was thinking of having more of a wide shot. It even had like the International Space Station back there and some other kind of asteroids, kind of making one asteroid more special in between those bigger ones. But it just, like, the cat, first of all, was not a main character at all in that image, and just the entire scale and perspective was a bit weird. Let me see, what shall we use? Quickly gonna jump into this file. Let's get these two steams over here. So I'm gonna put some of this stuff behind the planet, but in front of the atmosphere. I'm taking one of these steam assets. Basically what I'm thinking of doing is, if I were to really stretch this steam asset super, super thinly, I think that's even too thick. I'm thinking of creating like a few little spaceships or something like that passing in the background. I'm not sure if that'll work. Alright, I think this might be the furthest we can go, and now I'm just gonna be pushing it back a lot. Well, it does kind of work. Being blurred out. Yeah, it's being blurred out. So now I'm just going to duplicate this, move the time to something very different, and then just move this around. I don't want to add any detail really that goes above this bright star, I think. Like, I could try it, but I think that would make the composition a bit weird. Yeah, I don't like that at all. But I could grab one, put it right behind the cat, somewhere there. You don't want it to look like the cat has a penis. That does not look good either. Somewhere here could be fine, but I think it's too long. That's okay. Just a little bit lower. And let's lower the opacity. It's looking okay. Now, the next thing I'll do is I'm gonna take some of our organic stars, bring them right on top over here. We just solo this out. I'm just gonna select one of these stars, one of these juicy ones. There you go. And that's the one I'm gonna be using at the front of each of these smoke trails. Kinda, you know, as if it's a spaceship. This is something, at least something that's shiny. There you go, that's at the front. Now let's just crank up the exposure a bit. Somewhere in between that. I'm gonna create a little bit of a streak there just by using a directional blur that goes upwards and then streaking it like, which shall be like 10. Maybe like 50, and then we can bump up the exposure. Yeah, there you go. It's looking more like it. And then now turn this to 90 degrees. Take these two and lower the exposure to about 50%. Yeah, very nice. It's always important to keep, you know, keep your detail control in check. The good thing right now is that even though we have a lot of small details everywhere, the general amount of elements that need your attention isn't that many. Like, we have one big planet, we have the bluish crystal gems, and then we have the cat. And the highest detail is still the Hello Kitty pink thing on the cat. Generally speaking, I feel like we're fine. So as long as we don't overdo it, at this stage, you know, there's nothing too much to worry about. Just gonna make these yellow, and we're moving it up to the next one. I'm gonna be using this fog asset over here. I'm not sure if it's gonna work, but if we lumamat that, and we kind of get it in there somehow. Yeah, so this looks like shit, but maybe, just maybe. Okay, let me turn this to no track matte, duplicate, lumamat itself. There we go. That gives us some better values. Now we pre-compose that and then we lumamat this. Cool. And now if we bring this way down, let's do some post-processing, and then we're probably going to take it into Photoshop. I just want to try a few things there. Yeah, there you go. That's looking better. Otherwise, it looked a bit strange, right? It didn't look as if that star was actually connected to that streak. Like, when we think about the things we have to look for when creating a still or when creating an artwork, it's like, first of all, the setting. So what do we have? We have Uranus, we have Space Kitty, we have this crystally magical gem environment, and we have some spaceships in the background flying in. So, alright, we are in some kind of probably futuristic magical version of our universe. Now that's the setting. Then we have the character. Well, who's the character? We have Space Kitty. He has his magical charm around his neck. Hello Kitty is appearing on his helmet. I guess that's all we need to know about the character. Then we have the lighting. So we have basically bullshit lighting, I'd say, because we're creating a rim light on the planet, but we're also creating some fill light from the left side. It makes it very cinematic, I'd say. Thank you, Eric, for this one. And yeah, there you go. That's the lighting. Except for that, we have the caustics. That's basically adding to the lighting and everything. The next thing is mood. So this is a lighthearted piece, a bit more of a magical kind of vibe. We can probably add a little bit of magicality to it if we do a little bit of a blur effect. I'm not sure if that's gonna look anywhere good, but just for the sake of it, we're here anyways. Let's try it. That looks crazy. Yeah, no, I don't like it. Cool. The next thing we have is, we spoke about mood, spoke about characters, spoke about lighting, spoke about setting. Let me see. Well, composition. Composition is a very big one. Now, composition is one thing that I always struggle with. I'm not particularly good at it. I do know what I like. I'd say right now we managed to get it balanced. Adding the star in the top right corner is probably the main thing that made this work. Like, if we get rid of the star, it feels a little bit empty and unbalanced. But now it kind of feels like we're going with these rings. Our eyes are looking straight at Space Kitty. Then we start wandering because we have these little jet streams that are pushing us back to the left. The planet is generally speaking quite empty, so we start looking down. All of our atmospheric volume streaks, even though it's super subtle, but are pushing our lines downwards again. Then our eyes start following the rings, the gems, the cat. His chain is pulling us to the right. We go up, 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 and then we have the big star that's completing the composition. And we just added a little bit of a vignette a second ago. It's super subtle, but I feel like this can get composed together quite nicely. Cool. So I think we're good in After Effects. That's about all the compositing we need to do. Now I'm just gonna go save frame as. Here we go. And just name it Space Kitty. And now we're gonna go into Photoshop. Oh wow, look, we did this earlier today. Now inside of Photoshop, I'm just gonna go and open up this inside of Filter, Camera Raw Filter. Now I'm just gonna be using this to do a few tiny adjustments. Or bring down the exposure just a little bit. I'm trying to increase the contrast, maybe just a touch. The highlights are nice. Here you go. I'm keeping this default. Dehaze is such a strange one. but let's not play with that. You probably know this, but turning your image black and white is a great test to see if the values of your shot are actually okay. And I'm actually quite happy with this. Everything feels pretty balanced and the whites are interesting. We have a nice plasticity around all of these shapes and the depth works fine. So yeah, I'm happy. Now, figuring out where to keep our saturation is kind of like, that's a bit of a tricky part. I don't want to have any clipping. And like my main guide now is I'm looking at this thing down here. I want that to be definitely blue. I don't want it to be this grayish look that we have here, but I don't want it to be more dominant than all the other blue stuff, right? So I feel like somewhere here, that's where it's about to get blue. And I feel like now the rest of the image looks pretty balanced to me. And now I'm just going to be adding some film grain to it. It's too much, too much, too much, too much. Definitely too much. And I feel like that's about it. I'm pretty happy with the final result. Alright, cool. So thank you very much for watching. This was just like a little bit of a casual workflow process video, I guess. Let me know if you enjoy this kind of content. I'll be doing a lot of personal work in the upcoming months, and I'm probably going to be recording some more of these process videos simply of what we're doing on Syntactic Labyrinths as well. It's, yeah, I found it quite fun. It's quite relaxing. Someone to talk to while doing the work of the day. So yeah, be sure to hit subscribe if you want to check out any of our future tutorials, any of our upcoming short films. And be sure to head over to my ArtStation and yeah, gotta upload Space Kitty. This is usually where I post the high resolution version of any of the work that I'm doing. And yeah, head over to the ArtStation store if you want to check out any of the products to help you out. And that's about it. Cool. Thank you. Cheers. Bye-bye.